This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. We're broadcasting on over 750 stations on Pacific and NPR and low-power FM and college and community radio stations, on public access TV and PBS TV stations in both TV satellite networks, Dish Network Channel 9415, Free Speech TV 940, Link TV, and on DirecTV Channel 375. More video and audio podcasting at democracynow.org. Our headlines are also available in Spanish for any radio station to take or for you to read in transcript form. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. Juan.
Well, the Federal Reserve predicted on Wednesday the nation's unemployment rate could rise to nearly 9% this year, far higher than previously expected. In November, the Fed predicted the unemployment rate would not exceed 7.6% in 2009, but it has already hit that mark. The unemployment rate remains highest among people of color. Black unemployment is now at over 12.6%, and the jobless rate for young men, black men, is considerably higher. Dedrick Muhammad, who is still with us in Baltimore, is co-author of a new report titled State of the Dream 2009, The Silent Depression, published by United for a Fair Economy. The report found people of color in the United States are already experiencing a silent economic depression. Dedrick Muhammad, lay out some of the findings in your report.
Well, I think one of the most important findings is that the idea that the African-American community never emerged out of the 2001 recession. As the country was talking about things that were going well in 2005, 2006, we saw that African-Americans were actually having a decline in the employment rate, a decline in per capita income. So African-Americans, and actually you're going to see more and more working-class Americans, were going through actually a recession for years, and now we're really at a state where things are getting so bad that I would call it a depression. I mean, we're looking at African-American, as you said, unemployment rate about 13%. This foreclosure crisis is disproportionately going to affect African-American and Latino community who are specifically targeted with predatory lending. So we're really dealing with a national crisis, but a crisis that's going to hurt working class communities, which are disproportionately people of color. And as you mentioned, Eric Holder's statement, there hasn't been enough courage by political officials to adequately deal with this, with some of these unique situations that's really going to require the nation's resources.
And this high unemployment rate comes on top of an existing wealth gap that is rarely talked about, too, so that they actually in the African-American and Latino communities, families don't have much in terms of assets to fall back on in hard times. Isn't that true?
Oh, that's absolutely right. The overwhelming majority of African Americans and Latinos do not even have savings enough that would keep them going for 3 months. And as you see growing unemployment and what's not talked enough about, underemployment, there is not that safety cushion to help you get through hard times. African Americans only have about 15% of the wealth of white Americans. And so, again, African American community, Latinos communities, and also just working class communities as a whole are in a much more dire situation than I think is truly recognized. And we need some political courage to deal with these issues adequately.
The unemployment rate overall, they're talking 7, 8, 9, 10%. People gasp. But you say that unemployment for African Americans is in the double digits. Talk about where they are now and where you see it going.
Well, the most recent data I've seen is that African-American unemployment rate is around 13%. And there are estimates now, which I think are correct, that African-American unemployment can reach up to 20% and higher. When you look back a year ago, every estimate of how bad things are going to be underestimated how bad things currently are. And I think that's still going to be true. So, and if you look, I mean, the current unemployment rate of about 13% is a higher unemployment rate that white Americans haven't had such a high unemployment rate since about the time of the Depression. So we're truly in a crisis, and I'm hoping that there'll be more bold statements by people like Eric Holder, by political officials about how are we going to address this racial wealth divide, because I think the fact that America has been a nation of cowards in dealing with this issue, people are scared to deal with the issue which they consider divisive. But what's truly divisive is the fact that a third of black children are living in poverty, that indigenous people are living in a state that most Americans don't realize, and that we haven't gotten past the long legacy of disenfranchisement of people of color in this country.
Well, in the past week, we've seen the announcements, well, the signing of the stimulus package and also the announcement of President Obama's mortgage foreclosure plan to deal with the mortgage crisis. How do you see these two initiatives affecting the situation in the black community?
What I see is that the economic stimulus package I see as much more as the economic survival package. I mean, important things are in it, like extending unemployment benefits, trying to help people with health insurance. But these are more so going to help people get through this rough economic time. It's not going to get them out of this rough economic time. And again, if the idea is just to stimulate the economy, just get the economy going again like it was in the 90s, African Americans were still had a third of black children living in poverty at that time period. It's not good enough for me to go back to the 90s where we have a growing economy but maintaining great racial inequality. We have to do something much different and have to have much more bolder proposals. I'm glad to see that the government realizes that they have to play a role in stimulating the economy. I hope they see that their role is also to stimulate greater racial equality in this country.
What do you mean when you write, to a large extent, African Americans never emerged from the 2001 recession?
What I mean is through 2001 through about 2007, African American employment rate was actually declining. The per capita income was also declining. And you can even go back a little further than that and look at, I mean, even for white working men, they for the last 20 years have been have had their income declining. The middle class, the working class in this country have been suffering economically and have been using debt to maintain a middle class lifestyle. These chickens have come home to roost. We can no longer use this debt, and now I think we're realizing that for many Americans, the middle class lifestyle is unsustainable. And the large question has to be, what are we going to do about this?
Dedrick Muhammad, thanks for joining us, Senior Organizer and Research Associate at the Institute for Policy Studies. The report, State of the Dream 2009, with United for a Fair Economy. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. Juan?
Well, President Obama unveiled his first concrete plan to address the country's dire housing crisis at a speech in Phoenix, Arizona, Wednesday. His $275 billion homeowner affordability and stability plan could help as many as 9 million homeowners avoid foreclosure and reduce mortgage payments. Obama announced the details of the plan after warning that not acting would aggravate the crisis that is, quote, unraveling home ownership, the middle class, and the American dream itself.
The plan I'm announcing focuses on rescuing families who played by the rules and acted responsibly by refinancing loans for millions of families in traditional mortgages who are underwater or close to it, by modifying loans for families stuck in subprime mortgages they can't afford as a result of skyrocketing interest rates or personal misfortune, and by taking broader steps to keep mortgage rates low so that families can secure loans with affordable monthly payments. And through this plan, we will help between 7 and 9 million families restructure or refinance their mortgages so they can avoid foreclosure. And we're not just helping homeowners at risk of falling over the edge, we're preventing their neighbors from being pulled over that edge too, as defaults and foreclosures contribute to sinking home values and failing local businesses and lost jobs. But I want to be very clear about what this plan will not do. It will not rescue the unscrupulous or irresponsible by throwing good taxpayer money after bad loans. It will not help speculators. It will not help speculators who took risky bets on a rising market and bought homes not to live in but to sell. It will not help dishonest lenders who acted irresponsibly, distorting the facts. And dismissing the fine print at the expense of buyers who didn't know better. And it will not reward folks who bought homes they knew from the beginning they would never be able to afford. So I just want to make this clear. This plan will not save every home.
That's President Obama in Arizona yesterday. The bill would put in $75 billion to help up to 4 million homeowners at risk of losing their homes by creating incentives for lenders to renegotiate the terms of subprime loans. It also promises to help an additional 5 million households struggling to pay off their mortgages by lifting restrictions on refinancing and by pledging $200 billion to strengthen mortgage giants Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac were bailed out by the government last year. We're joined now by Josh Zinner here in the Firehouse studio. He's the co-director of Neighborhood Economic Development Advocacy Project, or NEDAP. He previously served as director of the Foreclosure Prevention Project at South Brooklyn Legal Services. Welcome to Democracy Now! Do you think this is going to do it?
Well, let me say it's a good start. We're heartened. The positive here is that finally something is being done by government. This crisis has been festering for such a long time. And we sat through years of the Bush administration doing nothing. And then when it became apparent that something desperately needed to be done,